So we're going to pull this mixer apart today and re-grease it and do a service on it. I'll kind of show you the process, how I do it. Got one Phillips head screw in the back here. Just kind of tilts back. It's got two little hooks. Hold on there. Pull these two screws out in the back. One there, and that's going to remove the silver band that comes around here. Take that off. Just kind of wiggles out. Boom. Set it off to the side, and then for the ones that are underneath here, here, you have one in the back here. Another one in the back here for now. They take this, one of the small square drives. I just use this 11-in-1 to get them out. I tilt it back up to get to these. There we go. If you don't have one of these cheap, like Lazy Susans, get one. If you do this type of work a lot, it works out great. Just grabbing a wide flathead. I like to pull these brushes out at this point. Inspect them. I don't have any spares here, so I won't be changing these today, but just makes it easier. So there is, you can see that, there is like a dog ear cut to them. If you look down inside that hole, there'll be like a little protrusion coming out, and that's where that dog ear goes. I'll show that better when I put it back together. You got one brush on each side. They're identical. I set those to the side because they can be kind of brittle. What do we got next? Next, after you get the two screws out of the back of the machine and the two here, this ring has to come off. And I take a little thin flathead and just get in there and just work it down. Usually these are all pretty dirty because stuff just gets up inside there. It's a good time for just overall maintenance and cleaning. Once you have that ring off, as you can see here, we have to get this pin out here. The last one I did, I ended up having to heat up. There's a lot of play in this, so I want to check that too. And then, so we'll get that out. And you have a couple more of those square drive up there. So what I do for this is get a dead blow. If you don't have a dead blow, super nice. It's like half filled with lead balls, little lead pellets, and when you hit, it doesn't have any rebound. It's like a standard hammer you hit and the hammer wants to come back and get you. With these, you don't really get that. So hopefully this one comes out without heating it up. You gotta hit it kind of hard. Like I said, it's just depending on what you're doing with it, just sugar and things like that. Get in there. Really, I don't know if I got enough there to grab. Grab a thinner punch. I have a variety of punches over there, so just trying to find one that fits in there. As you can see, I bent this one the other day. Not really great. Might be able to use it. Just bend it back a little bit. I'll try to just get it out with that little one. Nope, I should bend it over. Nope. Use this here. Moved a little bit, but it's not wanting to move. Let's see if I can twist it around and get it to move the other way. Sometimes working it back and forth helps. Came out a little more that way. There you go. Pins out. Now, looks like this one's going to come out a bit easier than that other one. So, what I do is I take this up in there, I just pry down. I kind of work around where those screws are. But it's cast, so you really don't want to put too much pressure on it. Push up. Just clean around this edge a little bit. A little bit of gunk in there. Instead of having them just fall off, and then sometimes they just take a little bit of persuasion. And I just try to work slowly all the way around. Don't try to, it's not a race. If they haven't been serviced in a while, I've noticed this really binds up. It really is a pain. There it goes. There you go. That's the inside. Not too crazy on this one. I'm just going to pull all that up, or clean all that up. Get it going, just set that to the side. Don't forget this washer, especially when you go to reinstall it. I've done that. Take your square drive that you were using on the other four, just get all these out. I keep these separate because these ones that hold this ring gear in place are different than the other four. So I just like to keep them separated. This one's a little dirty here. That grease that comes from KitchenAid is good, but it's some nasty stuff. So it does take a little bit to clean all of it out of there. Free up this cord. on the back here, this little grommet just comes out of the housing that hangs like that, and then this whole thing should lift right off like that. So as you can see, that grease in there is some nasty stuff. I believe it's a darker color from factory. This new stuff I'm putting in is white, but I want to kind of show you how it looks. And this mixer isn't that old. This is just a couple years old. I don't know if it's ever had a service done on it, but I'd have to guess not. So, and I'll show you that ring gear that's up there. So this is that ring gear. Here are those screws that I took out a moment ago. So yeah, let's keep going. Get this all cleaned up. So I'm actually going to throw on some gloves for this. You can get it out of there, the grease, however you want. The best way I've found is just kind of grabbing it out and then using a flathead screwdriver to kind of clean it out. But yeah, let's get a paper towel here and just kind of get in there and goop out as much as you can in the beginning. And after that, I'll take it over to the parts cleaner and kind of get everything cleaned out. Yeah, let's do this. And the stuff is pretty sticky, so it kind of sticks to a screwdriver really well. And I just make a pile of it on a paper towel. So just get out as much as we can before we start disassembling it more. So I don't know if a different grease got put in here at one time, or it's got a lot of wear. It seems to be a different color. Or there's a lot of metallic, or maybe some moisture that got in there somehow. Who knows? I'm just here to do a service on it and re-grease it. I just keep working it around and get as much off there as you can. So there are, try to tilt this towards you. So there are 3 screws here, here, and here that hold this gear set in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove those. Set these on the paper towel there. There we go. Now, this, I don't know what it's called, gear set is what I'm going to call it. Will pop right off. I'm just going to set that here. Oops, sorry for bumping the camera. So now then, this main shaft here will slide out. There's a little O-ring right here. Haven't had any issues with it marring up or anything, but just try to clean this off as best we can. And some people only go this far. You know, if you were to just wipe this down really good, you really don't have to use any solvents or anything. I mean, you can just come in here, wipe what you can off, and then repack it with grease, put it back together. I don't strip down the housing and go crazy, but I do like to take everything out, put it in some hot water, and get it together. just like to get off as much as I can before I take it over to the sink and clean it. So the shaft will actually separate from there. I just keep it all together. Just, I don't know, keep it as one unit. That's how I like to do it. Do at your own risk. I love those. People say that. And when you're wiping it down like this, there will be a little bit that gets inside these. Tilt that towards you. In these little channels like this, I just use this. Get as much out as you can. It's nothing, you know, that's not going to hurt anything. Again, I don't know how old this mixer here is. And this is the, I believe it's the 4.5, 5 quart tilt head. And they're all the same that I've seen at least. They're all pretty standard units. So let's actually what I'll do is I'm gonna set you guys up in a different spot, and I'll show you how I clean out the head that we took off. Okay, got you guys readjusted. Here's the head that we took off. So you can see down in there. Basically what we're doing is we're just going to get as much grease as we can out of there. I do want to add, this is a paper gasket. You just peel it off, go slow if you're going to reuse it. I have reused them. They seem to reseal fine. I just, obviously clean them up a bit. I don't put any solvents on these. Again, it's just a paper gasket. So, and it does have an orientation. It's not square all the way around. It does have a certain way it goes. What I do is I pull this out. As you can see, this is kind of worn. It should clean up good though. Nothing too crazy. And then I just kind of do the same thing as the base. Get a flathead in here and just start taking out as much of this as I can. I'm not going to remove the motor assembly from this for this service, so I don't take this anywhere near the water or parts cleaner or anything like that. It seems to be just a thin flathead. Seems to do a pretty good job of getting most of it out of here. I will spray a little bit of brake clean down in there. Again, keep it away from the motor or any electronic components, but this is a separate housing than this, so should be pretty good. And again, this is a personal unit, so pretty much to the point where we can get in here and just clean it out like that. You're going to use a bunch of paper towels, that sort of thing. Grab some more. Get in here. I'm going to clean this up the rest of the way, and I'll see you guys over at the parts cleaner when we do those other pieces. So I don't really have a good way to show you over at the parts bin, so I got this bin here. This actually may be how I do it, but from now on, basically what I do is just take some brake clean, and we're just going to, I just get it in there as best I can. Scrub them with your hand. This brake cleaner really breaks up that grease well. So I'll spray a little bit, turn the gears, spray a little bit more, get it kind of going that way. Do not put this grease in like hot soapy water and try to scrub it. It really just messes with everything. The water just gums it up, and it doesn't really work. Oop. Fix you guys real quick. Sorry about that. So once it gets in there, once it gets a little bit of that brake cleaner on there, it wipes off way easier. And again, we're not going for perfection here. We're just doing a regular service on it. A full disassembly, you can come in here and you can get this out, get everything out if you want. This one, compared to some I've seen, actually isn't that bad. But we're trying to get as much life out of these mixers as we can. Even one of these 4.5, 5 quart ones now, I mean, what are they, like $400 or something like that? So I mean, definitely not a cheap thing you have to go and buy. So anybody can do this with basic tools. None of it is really, I mean, you can see it in the video, nothing's crazy. Like it. So there we go. Let me grab some more brake clean. I'll be back. Got another can. If you're going to do one of these, make sure to have a full can of brake clean if you're going to do it this way. Seems like I used one full can. Had a couple half cans here. And I just, I don't mind using a can of brake clean when I service these. Probably irritates some people, but it just is what it is for me. Makes my life a lot easier. I have tried just the hot water and soap on these. It doesn't work out that well. It honestly just makes more of a mess. You need some sort of solvent that's going to break down that grease. That's all I do. Wipe everything down with some clean paper towels and you're good to go. So obviously you got a lot of brake clean in there, so do it in a well ventilated area. It's probably best. So off camera, I actually got this part cleaned up. Forgot to show you that. Same process as the other stuff. So what do we got here? Perfect. Just make sure you don't have any little pieces of paper towel in here or anything. I don't think it's going to play any crucial role, but don't want any foreign material in there. This is actually our grease. The new stuff that I got that I've been using is white. Where the original stuff is obviously like a darker color. One thing I do is I take a little bit, I just put around that O-ring. Just again, this is what I do. Do it however you want. I think a little bit of grease on there as it gets pushed down inside of this housing here will help it. I'll also just take a little bit and put it around. What I'm doing, I'm just putting a little bit on my finger and just dragging it, so that way we're putting a little bit inside that housing so it's not dry. This is food grade, so it's not going to affect anything if it does get into food. It's not going to make anybody sick or anything. And also what I'll do here is I'll take some and just kind of, sorry I wasn't showing, just kind of coat the bottom of this here. In a couple months I'll probably take this unit completely apart and redo everything on it. Not noticing anything. There's no like chipped teeth on anything, but there was quite a bit of slack in the back-to-back movement on that main shaft, or on the ring gear here. So I just want to re-grease everything, make sure everything's good inside. If that fixes it, then we'll leave it the way it is. Again, this is a personal unit, but if it's still got a lot of play, then we'll just do a complete rebuild on it. So once you got some grease around there, put a little bit more on here. Really can't have too much. This is enough for probably 5 units or so to redo, maybe a little bit more. But for how I grease them, probably about 4 to 5. So once that's greased up, I will take some and put on the base of here. Again, you know, can't really overdo it. Just make sure everything spins freely. What I will do here is I'll just wipe some of that off, so when I'm handling it, it's a little bit cleaner. Okay, so yeah, take this piece here. It has 2 locating dowels here. Let me show you. Here and here, and they fit up inside the bottom of this, you know, there and there. So it can't go on the wrong way. So yeah, perfect. Put those screws back in, and I'm showing you all this in real time. I'm probably not going to speed any of this video up, maybe some parts in the middle where it's just repetitive, but I really want to show that it doesn't take long. Everything only goes back together one way. Anybody at home can, you know, service these. So, and there is a little bit of, you know, the old grease here and there. I mean, it's nothing to worry about, you know. So I'm not going to take the full thing apart and parts clean the whole unit, strip it. This is just a general service. If I do end up needing to rebuild this fully, or there were broken teeth or something, I'd be a little bit more worried about metal being in there, you know, in the housing. And you know, if there's any metal in there, you definitely want to get it all out. But at the end of the day, this is just a general service, so we're not doing an engine rebuild on this thing. So you know, we're just changing the oil basically. All right, so that's there, that's there. So what I'll do now, where's my little spatula? In the kit that I got, it comes with this little spatula, pretty handy. I'll save that for next. So what I'll do with this is I just kind of take it a little bit on there, and I want to pack it inside these teeth here. I start at the top and kind of work my way down. Again, it's just kind of how I do it. I've rebuilt a handful of these. There's always, they're all a little bit different, but how I re-grease them is pretty much about the same. I put as much grease in there as I think it can hold, and then add a little bit more, honestly. This way. So again, I'm just taking that, I'm scraping it along those teeth, just making sure there's grease in every tooth. So what I don't want to do is, one, I don't want it to run dry with no grease. That wouldn't be good. But also, anywhere grease can fit into like a little spot, I want to put it there before. Basically what I'm doing is get it around all the teeth everywhere, and then I want to pack more on top. So if you just pack it on top, then it's going to go into all the teeth and you may not have enough residual. One thing I may not have pointed out is right here, I'll show you this, right here there's a metal blade, and what that is that's a scraper. And as this spins around, grease will pile up on one side, and it'll that scraper just helps scrape it off and move it up into these and out this way towards the shaft. So that way it just picks up in all the teeth. Kind of a neat little design, simple, but it's effective. It works. All right. I think we're almost ready to put the top back on. So this top I got pretty well cleaned out. There's still a little bit of the old grease in there. I'm not worried about it. With this though, I do take some grease on my finger and I want to put it around here. This seems to be like a wear spot on these. I don't know why, what, or how, but I always re-grease this area, just put a coating. What it does is it just goes right inside there and press it against. This is your I'm going to call it a spindle, not sure, but your receiver for the for any attachments you have, a pasta maker, a meat grinder, what have you. The meat grinder works really good on these. I make sausage every year with it. But so then what I'll do, I'll take the spatula here and try to show you what I can. So down inside of here, I just want to do the same thing. Pack all those teeth with it. I'll put my finger in there and turn it, and again, I don't want two teeth to meet and there'll be no grease. I will take a little bit and I will put it, just a gob of it, on that worm drive, because why not? And I don't really pack too much inside the top here. So one thing I do is I will put a dollop here, because when it goes down, when I flip this housing over the top and it goes inside that bearing spot, I want it to kind of push down. I definitely want that to be protected. So then what I'll do is I'll take a bunch here and I'll kind of lather it up here. And grease doesn't seem to go anywhere in these, so how much ever grease you took out is kind of how much you need to put back in. So that's how I do it, at least. Just want to make sure everything's kind of got enough grease on there. And what I'll do is inside these cavities here on both sides, that's kind of how I want it to look for me. Do it how you want. You do yours. Basically, get grease on all the teeth. Twist it around. Make sure you have good grease contact everywhere. And I do 3 to 4 dollops here, one inside here, one on left and right of this housing or this gear drive here, gear set. Dollop on top, then pack all the teeth in here, and a dollop on the worm drive. That's kind of how I do it. Haven't had any issues. All my units still work. I've never been taught how to do this. I've kind of just I work on like big commercial units. That's pretty much what we do with those. So these are the same. Everything's the same. Just on those it's much bigger. All right. Oh, see, before I forget, the gasket. I have installed them without the gasket before and had to take it back apart. So if that happens, it's okay. Things happen. So, and this will only go one way, like I said. It's got a locating dowel here. So how I do is I put it on the base here. This is the base. This is the top. For reference. I did tighten those. And I'm going to double check real quick. And you want these, tight enough to where they squish down and, make contact, and then a little bit more on that washer, and we're good to go. I don't know what the torque spec is, or if there even is one, but again, it's how I do it. All right. So what I'll do is I will face this that way, so the back is to my right. And then I'll take this, and what you have to do is you have to put this shaft inside of that bearing there. So it pretty much, for the most part, drops in just like that. Got a little bit of old grease on here. And once we're done, we'll wipe this whole thing down. I really don't, you can't see it because this unit's black. But definitely on the white ones, it gets covered. Make sure that's freed up. And then what I want to do is I just want to, I should take this. I don't want to grab the O-ring here, but there. So don't squeeze hard. You know, nothing on these takes a lot of force. But what happened there is that ring gear, or the worm gear, wasn't sitting correctly. So what I did with this is I grabbed above, in between the bottom and that O-ring, and just gave it a little twist, and it dropped right down where it's supposed to be. Alright. Again, just making more of a mess now. So I leave it unlocked. I will go ahead and fit this back in here. The flat part goes out on that rubber seal. So I'll leave it like that. So right now I can tilt it up and it won't drop or anything. Go back to these here, and I'll start the first one. If you can by hand, just like to get one in there. Just start everything. Definitely don't want to use any power tools on this. It's not needed. Ooh, yeah, see, that's what happens. So I don't tighten them down all the way. I kind of get them all snug in there first, and then I go back and I tighten them in a star pattern like a lug nut on a car. You know, kind of one side to the other. Because again, you're compressing that gasket in there, and you don't want this, you know, kind of, you know, leaning or cocked any certain way. It needs to be flush. If it is, it'll just put more wear on that gear set, you know, if it's not sitting correctly. So that's the last one for that. So what I'll do is I'll tighten here, a little snug, and I'll come over here, this one a little snug, this one here, a little snug, and back onto this one, you know, and you can kind of feel it pull together. So that's all. So then while I'm here, what I do is I do put these two in last, or not last, but after those 5. You know, this is just the back of that housing and the back of that gasket. It just really presses up on it. You could put these in and tighten them in the sequence with the other ones, but I haven't noticed a difference. Doing it together or doing it this way, I haven't really noticed a difference. So I keep trying to clean up as I go. It doesn't really work like that when your hands got a little bit of grease on them. So actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop this. And I am going to put these back 2 in just to get them out of my bin there so I know it's done. And these back 2 here are always the cleanest out of all those. I think because they hear the bowl and it sloshes stuff up and doesn't get cleaned well. I've noticed these 2 back here always look brand new. I have a love-hate relationship doing this on the Lazy Susan. When you're trying to do this, it wants to move away from you. So, that's there, that's there. Should be set on that. So what we're going to do is here, a little bit in there still, wipe it down that good. Again, just trying to get the majority of it out. Most people, this is kind of what they want. This is what I do, like I said, in my personal units. Okay. So here, this piece sits up in here, and it rides, the edge of this gear set rides here. So you'll get this rotation here, and as it goes around, that's what gives the shaft spin. So it goes around the bowl, but it's also spinning all that's inside there. This is basically what spins it. Kind of the same thing. I take this, and I just want to get, scrape some all the way around in all the teeth. Again, this is food grade grease. If you food grade grease, so if it does seep out of there, high RPMs, maybe you put a little bit too much and it gets in the bowl, it's not going to hurt anything, not going to poison anybody. That's why they make it. I mean, you don't want that to happen, but if it did, Okay, so same thing on this piece here. I'll get a dollop here, and I just want to kind of feather it on all the teeth here, kind of all the way around. So that's how you want it to look. You want grease on all the teeth, put a little dollop on top because it's on there. And then what you have to do here is you have this hole that goes through here. I'm going to take a little bit more grease. I did it before, but I wiped it off, and I just want a little bit of grease around that O-ring. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to pinch that O-ring and break it, because that O-ring is what keeps that grease from getting hot and coming down, basically. Oh, almost forgot. So, I did this yesterday, actually. I got it all together and I forgot. Put this washer here back up there. I do coat it with a little bit of grease as well. I put the grease on the side that's going to make contact here, because as you push it up, it'll stick there. Boom, easy. It stays there. You don't have to worry about it falling down. So you have the hole here for your pin, and you have the hole here in your, this bottom housing. You want to get those pretty well lined up. You can adjust it after, but you want it to be a little close. You don't want to fight yourself for no reason. So what I do is I just wiggle it kind of back and forth until it wants to sit up in there. Just give it a little bit of pressure, and then what you can do is, once it's up there, you can move this back and forth, and it'll actually spin on the shaft so you can locate the hole. Mine's lined up, so I'll just give it a couple knocks. I'm actually going to be smart about this. Again, you're not wailing on it. You don't need to. But it does have to sit about flush, so I'm about maybe a 16th or so away. So what we'll do is and this here seems like quite a bit of play in this unit. It's still got a little bit up to go, so. But let's see here. I've noticed when they have that play, you kind of got to hit them with a bit of force to get this to seat all the way up. Let's see here. What I want to do is I don't. skinny one I can kind of fit down in there and get it to, there we go. See, use it a little bit smaller than the hole, kind of put it in there and work that shaft down. So when you're hitting it, I've noticed there's a little bit of play in that shaft up at the top here. So when you're hitting it, it's wanting to hit all the way up, and it's hitting, this is reaching its limit before this is actually, the top of that shaft's hitting the hole. So I'm going to clean our pin up with a little bit of sandpaper first. I got some over here. All this is a piece of 1000 grit. Do whatever you want. I just want to clean it up a little bit, because it does, you know, when you wash it, that makes contact with the water and soap, and it, you know, I just want it as clean as possible to go back in there. So, boom, that's our pin. And I'm going to spray it off a little bit of air here. So what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll just get a little bit of grease on the end like that, and go put it back in. This one here is a little bit bigger than the pin, so when I punch in, it will stop at the housing. It shouldn't take too much force. Readjust here, so you can just clean that up, and as you can see, flush here, flush on the other side, good to go. So basically, this here, I'm going to clean this up real quick. There's a little bit of stuff in there. So I've noticed on these rings, I understand why they don't have drain holes, because then, you know, stuff would just fall in. But I've noticed that if you're mixing something very thin, it seems to get up inside here and kind of sit down at the bottom of this ring. These rings rust out. I mean, I don't want to say it's a bad design, because I don't know how you really fix it, I guess. Don't have the ring is the best way, but then stuff would get inside of here, you know, get inside your gear set. There, your ring gear, it gives you your like spatula rotation. It would really mess with you, and, you know, just it would eat that up. So I guess if you're gonna replace this ring or replace the gears, you know, better to replace the ring. Just my 2 cents. So I don't do anything with this. Just simply snaps on. It's just a friction fit. I will use my hammer lightly and just kind of work around it. So I'll put pressure here on this side, because this side's still hanging down. So I don't want to hit this side, and it, you know, pop this side back down. Looks like it's sitting good all the way around. So this unit had a lot of play back and forth, you know, and now re-greasing it seems to have helped it. How long it helps it for, who knows? Definitely be looking at putting some new parts in this thing. So I'm going to put our metal band back on here. Boom, boom. So how I do this, I push this all the way towards the housing, then start it. You know, because you want it pinched around the housing pretty tight. Same thing on this side. That's there. And then we need our back piece here. You can clean this if you want. I mean, on the units I do, they're usually pretty clean. What that has is two little hooks that hold it, and it kind of hinges up there. Put that back on. I'll come around here, and I will. And the reason I take this off is just so, you know, it doesn't come loose while I'm moving it around and, you know, run into stuff, fall, lose it, you know, that sort of thing. Trying to clean up a little bit. With this grease though, it does come with this plastic, like, inner cap. Put that back on. If this thing is leaned over at all, if it gets more than, you know, room temperature, it'll just seep out everywhere without it. So, best way to do it. So, what we got left? The brushes. So, to do the brushes, I'm gonna kind of give you how to. So this is the locking side. This other side is the speed side. We're gonna do the locking side first. What I've noticed is all of these are the same. So I'm gonna show you the correct orientation for your brushes. What they have is, you know, square with, you know, one corner cut off basically. I believe like a dog ear, like you would do on like a page of a book. Let me grab my phone. So I'm actually going to show you real quick kind of how it looks. So if you can see that up here, the corner is basically cut off. And inside here is a metal square with one of the corners pushed in basically. So this flat spot needs to be where whichever corner is kind of pushed in for correct orientation. So let me grab a light real quick. And you can look down there and you can see it. So on the locking side, on this one, the pushed in side is down here. So that flat spot needs to be this way. So square, square, cut here, that corner. So that's what I'm going to do. So again, the cut side is going to go down here to this corner. And it'll slide right in. So if it comes apart like that, that's okay. Just push that in. Fits right in there. You can start these by hand. You can get them pretty much tight by hand, but you know, get them set. Use on these, use a real wide flathead if you have it. If not, it just chews up the cap. If you ever have to replace the brushes on them, you know, it comes with a new cap. So that's the locking side. And then on speed control side, why can't I see it? Oh, so on the speed control side, it's up here is the pushed in. So up here, so basically it's, you know, straight this way, straight down, and slanted here. So on this one, where that dog ear is, it needs to go facing up here. It'll be kind of tricky, but they go right in. And it will go in the other way, but you're just not making contact inside there. So you just gotta be mindful of that. You know, worst comes to worst, you know, do one, see how far it goes in, 90 degrees, how far it goes in, 90 degrees, and when it goes further in, then you have it right. Because they can be kind of tricky to see. So, and that's it. The unit is good to go. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't have an extension cord out here at the moment, or else I'd run it for you, but I know it'll work, so that's it. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, you know, ask them below. I'll try to help you out with them. I've done work on all of these. Grab another paper towel. I've done work on all these smaller units, the 4.5, 5s, the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, I believe it's the 8-quart or 9-quart, I can't remember. I work on too many of them. But the commercial line for the smallest commercial unit that KitchenAid makes, those are super nice, especially for even an at-home unit. I really do like them. Just it's basically the same design, just more beefed up. But I do also do work on, big units, 20, 30 quarts. Really don't go anything bigger than that. Here and there I will, but that's about it. If you got any questions, like I said, leave them below. Be glad to help you out. You can find the rebuild kits for these. Actually, I'll show you. It'll come with a tube of grease or a jug of grease here, the little spatula, and then basically your gaskets. I keep a spare set here in case they tear, but if not, for my personal ones, I just put them back in, or ones for work, I just leave them, we just reuse them. If somebody brings one to me that wants a rebuild, maybe the next one I do, I'll make a video on that, and we'll do a whole deep dive into it. But there's your service for those. Thank you for watching.